Hello, and thank you for your interest in our Region 10 2019 Results-Driven Accountability Manual Overview. This video is designed to provide you with a general overview of the format and information contained within the RDA Manual in order to assist you in finding needed information. We will not review the information contained within in depth. However, you are encouraged to download the 2019 RDA Manual and to pause the video as needed. You can access the manual at tea.texas.gov and then searching for the RDA manual in the search bar. If you are in need of additional assistance, please do not hesitate to contact the appropriate Region 10 Program Area Specialist shown here. Jennifer Hernandez for Bilingual ESL, Travis Waddell for CTE, Allison Fears, ESSA, or myself, Anna Griffiths, for Special Education. If you are joining us from outside the Region 10 service area, please contact your local Education Service Center for assistance. So let's go ahead and pull up the RDA manual. Although RDA has been rebranded this year and there have been changes, a lot of what we see remains unchanged, especially in regard to the formatting of the manual. So if you are familiar with past manuals, you should be able to easily find the information that you are looking for. So let's begin our walkthrough. From the cover page or any page within the manual, if you will look to the top right-hand corner, and if you will hover there with your cursor, a black ribbon will drop down. There you will see the bookmark tool. If you click on the arrow, it will drop down and it will highlight for you the different sections of the manual. What I like about this is that they are hyperlinked. So if I were to click on the section right here, on section 1, it would take me to that section. What you can see here is that section 1 is the introduction. Section 2 covers components of the RDA. Section 3 is our performance indicators for each of the program areas shown here: bilingual ESL, CTE, ESSA, and special education. And then last but not least, section 4 are our appendices. We will come back to this in just a moment. Before we do, I would like to scroll down to page 2, just so that we are thorough in our review. On page 2 of the manual, it does provide information on how the manual hard copies can be purchased from the agency. It also gives you a link to the review and support webpage, which is a wealth of information. And then it provides for you just the copyright information be available. So with that, let's go back up and let's go to the bookmark bar. I want to begin with the introduction. So it begins by giving us a brief description of what RDA is. Results-driven accountability is a local education level, by that meaning a district level, data-driven monitoring system developed and implemented annually by the Division of Review and Support in coordination with other departments within the Texas Education Agency. It is intended to serve as a comprehensive technical resource that is used by TEA as one part of its annual evaluation of LEA's performance and program effectiveness. So again, I want to point out that this is a district level report. It is not a campus level report. However, we know that it is our campuses that contribute to our district data. As we look at this, then we can go to the guiding principles. And I'm not going to read over all of these today, but I do encourage you to take a look at the guiding principles. I think it really helps us develop a better understanding of RDA, and it also helps us when we get to that point of data analysis. So next then would be the information about us transitioning into RDA in 2019 from the 2018 performance-based monitoring analysis system. Many of these changes are marked in the manual as new, so you'll want to look for that. And you will also want to look at the information that is detailed in Section 3 for each specific indicator. But before you do that, I highly encourage you to continue to review the information provided for you in Sections 1 and Section 2 of the manual. It really provides a more in-depth explanation of the information that is reviewed in Section 3. And, I know there was a time where I just jumped right in and I just went to, Section 3 to special ed, but really there is so much more information provided in Section 1 and 2 that really informs what you're seeing on those pages. So, I want to highlight some of the changes though. So in changing from PBMAS to RDA, please, if you haven't already heard this, be aware that the term staging has been removed from the RDA language. That language has been replaced with a overall performance level. So they are now, instead of assigning a stage to a program, they are assigning a performance level, to the overall program area. So that could be a little confusing. And then again, for those specific changes to each indicator, will need to look at Section 3. But what I love about this section is that it gives us a summary of all of the changes very succinctly here by program area. So here we can see all of the changes for bilingual ESL, CTE, ESSA, and special education. All right, so let's look at planning for the future. This just tells us about what we can expect in the future and what drives those changes. So again, good information to know. And then let's move on to Section 2. Again, I'm clicking on the arrow. Section 2 tells us about all of the various components that are used within the RDA system. So it begins with our data sources, and this paragraph really informs the information that's provided for each individual indicator under data sources. It talks to us about data exclusions, right? When data is excluded from those calculations, what it means when no data is available for an indicator. And I believe there's a reminder in there if you see that to make sure that there isn't data that you should be reporting. It gives us information about the accountability subset and what is used within the RDA report. It talks to us about rounding, and it also gives us information about masking. It lets us know that masking occurs. For more in-depth information on masking, it provides you with the links that are shown here. If you look, continue to look at this, it describes to you all of the different performance levels that can be assigned to those program-specific indicators and defines those for you. It also talks to us about changes to the RDA cut points, which we will look at that in just a moment when we get into Section 3. But again, it will tell you how they're reviewed, how they're evaluated, and how those decisions to change the cut points are made. Here we see information on report-only indicators, and typically what that means when we have report-only, which on the report is typically reported as an RO. And then on page 9, it gets into the minimum size requirement in special analysis, or SA, with supporting flowcharts that are provided on pages 11 and 12. Please note that in RDA, the MSR can be met either in the current year or through the aggregation of numerators and denominators over the most recent 2 years if applicable. So RDA was designed, let me scroll down a little bit, right here to required improvement. So you can scroll in addition to using your bookmark bar. But RDI was designed with a built-in improvement component, which is referred to as required improvement. This designation is a positive designation, so please don't confuse it with improvement required. Okay, you can review the information that's provided on pages 13 and 14 for complete information. But basically, what it tells you, and I'm being really loose with this, please do look at all of the specific information here. But basically, if you receive a 0 RI, it is telling you that although you didn't meet that cut point for a performance level of 0 for that indicator, you are on track to meet that next year. So, in essence, you are being granted some grace. So, if you don't know what you're doing that is so good, you may want to find that out. If you do have a very intentional plan, you'll want to keep that up. So, again, this is a good thing if you see RI on your report, and the information about how that is exactly how that is calculated is provided for you here. So then there are two different formulas for that. So then this section concludes with the information on page 15, which addresses reasonable progress, system safeguards, and monitoring interventions. Reasonable progress in theory is similar to required improvement. However, the methodology differs as it pertains to significant disproportionality designations. So again, it is something that is a positive if you see this on your report, and it here provided for you here is how to calculate reasonable progress. Again, if you have any questions on any of the information that I'm sharing with you, please don't hesitate to contact us. We continue here looking at, let's go ahead and start using this again, if I can find it, are system safeguards, which tell you about the built-in safeguards in the system. And then also, and really this is the only place to my knowledge that they really address monitoring interventions in the manual, as most of that information is now housed on the review and support website, which the link is provided here. But there is just a little bit of information on monitoring interventions provided for you here. Okay, so we are going to continue on now with section 3. I want to point out a couple of things. In section 3, and many of you are probably familiar with this, but it does again cover all of the indicators for each of the 4 program areas. So bilingual ESL, CTE, ESSA, and then special education. In just a moment, you will see, let's go ahead and click there. In just a moment, you will see that the formatting for the most part has remained consistent in this. Typically, each indicator consists of one page providing the same types of information, although specific to that indicator, on each page. The exception to this is in special education on the indicators 9 through 16, because those also address significant disproportionality, so they roll into 2 pages. So let's start out. Let's look at bilingual ESL. And again, I'm not going to go over each individual indicator. That is not the purpose of this video. It is just to familiarize you with the manual. So as you look at this indicator, let me make this just a little bit smaller. You can see, didn't mean to do that, sorry. You can see that it begins with the title, and here it's telling us that this is a report-only indicator and that it is new, and I love the way they put new in red. Then it gives us a brief description of the indicator and the calculation. I cannot tell you how many of the questions we get at the service center are answered by simply reviewing the title and the description of the indicator. So again, sometimes we skip past some of the most informative sections. So then it gives the calculation for the indicator, which is followed by the specific data sources that were used for this indicator. So all of the data sources that were mentioned in section 2 may not be used for this indicator. Okay, so that's why it's good to look at the indicators in conjunction or with the information in section 2 as a backdrop. When you get down into overall processing criteria, you will see that information on the minimum size requirement is provided for you. Required improvement, it's telling us here that it's not available, nor is special analysis. It tells us the years of data that is available for the indicator, accountability, if the accountability, subset is used, which test administrations, the applicable PEMS collections, and then here is a nice little reminder that section 2 of this manual includes detailed information on these and other RDA components. In this case, it continues and tells us that a PL assignment for this indicator, since it's report only, it is not giving us those cut point levels, but we will look at that in just a moment. And then again, this is another area that we often look past, and that is the notes. But I highly encourage you to, read all of the information provided because it really can dictate particular information to the indicator. Okay, so with that, let me go up here and let me get the bookmark bar. I'm going to just show you really quick that if I were to click on CTE, right, Career and Technology, if I go to that indicator 1, you can see that the layout is very much the same. What is different here is because if you see, this is not a report only indicator. Okay, so it does provide for us the cut points down here under PL assignment. So if we were to look at this indicator in mathematics, for example, this tells you that if you came within, according to this calculation shown here, if your rate came within the 65% to 100% range, you would receive a performance level of 0. Remember, a performance level of 0 is what you want. Ideally you're 100%, but if not, you're falling within that performance level of 0. As your rate goes down, then you are performance level of 1, 2, or 3. And sometimes, for example, when we get into special education and you're looking at your least restrictive environment, actually some of the lower rates are what would earn you a PL0, but that becomes pretty self-explanatory as you look in the manual. So again, this is an example of when performance levels are being assigned and of what the cut point charts look like. Please know that for each indicator, these cut points can vary. So again, you want to look at the specific information for each indicator. And then again, your notes. So I'm going to go back up here and let's shrink that down. You would see the same format in ESSA, and you will also see that in special education. What I do want to show you in special education is where the formatting differs just a bit. So again, if I looked at indicator 1, which again is our passing rate, you can see that this really looks very much like what you just saw in CTE, and it takes about 1 page to provide you with the needed information. So let's jump down to special ed indicator number 9, which is, as you can see down here, also reports on significant disproportionality. So if you look at this one, special education regular class, less than 40% rate, right? It tells us that this indicator measures the percent of students ages 6 through 21 served in special education in the regular class less than 40% of the day. Again, the calculation, the data source, the overall processing criteria is given to us here. It also gives us the PL assignment, and this is an example of what I spoke to earlier here to attain that PL0, which is what we want. Your rate needs to fall within the 0 to 10%. And the PL assignment increases, which again is not a good thing, as that rate increases. Okay, so all of that as far as format is very much like what we have seen on the other indicators. But again, what sets the special ed indicators 9 through 16 apart is that it goes on then to talk to us about significant disproportionality and giving us the methodology there. And then the notes tend to be quite a bit more extensive. So that pretty much explains how the indicators are laid out. Again, I do want to encourage you to please review those after you have reviewed the information provided in section 2. So, and last but not least, we need to go down to section 4, the appendices. So using our bookmark function again, we're going to look at Appendix A first. Appendix A provides us with contact information for the Texas Education Agency. It tells us here that if you have questions or comments that you would like to discuss with them, you are certainly welcome to do so. It also says that if you have any reason to question the data or perhaps a calculation error, that you may contact them. The date given here says no later than September 13th of 2019. That is not the correct date. The correct date, as we know it now, which is December of 2019, will be January 17th of 2020. So again, you have until January 17th of 2020 to report to the agency any discrepancies that you believe exist with your data or with the calculations. If we continue to scroll down, or if we just use our bookmark and go to Appendix B, Appendix B provides you with the ESC contact information. However, with that, I will tell you that for Region 10, the information is not wholly correct. So if you do have questions that you would like to ask of us, please contact us with the information that is provided for you here. Questions regarding bilingual ESL would be Jennifer Hernandez, CTE, Travis Waddell, ESSA, Allison Spears, and special education would be me, Anna Griffiths. If you believe that you have any errors in your report, you can always contact us first and ask us to look at your data before you involve the agency as well. So with that, I would like to thank you very much for joining us for our overview of the 2019 manual. I hope that you have found this information helpful and that it assists you when you are looking for information in the manual. If you have any questions, again, please don't hesitate to contact us. And with that, thank you and have a great day.